All right, good morning. For the first time ever, we have Facecam for a coding stream here for our, what do I call this? Chill Sunday morning coding. So yeah, hello. Today, what are we doing? We're working on Zom Nom Defense, as you see there. Got the project plan up. And I got a few things going on behind the scenes. Some AI pull requests. Hey, Death Row. Hello. I was inspired by the layout that you had for your streams. And it was like I wanted to make a change. So here we are. How's it going? How's your Sunday morning been so far? Good, I hope. Yeah, so we get some AI pull requests here that I have been working on, but we're not going to look at these today. I wanna code something myself, so we're gonna do that. You like it? Great. Well, let me turn down music a little bit more. Be there. All right. So, one of the things I identified for the project is the idea of having these support towers, where we can let's launch the game and we can talk about it from the game. Yesterday I did update to Godot 4.5. The only real problem with doing that update was that there is now a class in Godot 4.5 called Logger that conflicted with the name of my Logger class. So I had to rename everything to my Logger just so there wasn't a naming conflict. You like the color of my walls? Yeah. Thank you. When I bought this house, this room was actually almost this color. It was I think it was a lighter shade of blue, and I darkened it up a little bit. I will note that I don't always have the curtains drawn. I just have them drawn for the stream because I feel like that would reveal too much information if you could see out the front of my house. So we're not going to do that. But yeah. So we have our little game. And what? Right. Okay. So let us die. let me do our test scenario here. Yeah, there we go. That's interesting though. Why is it big number over 5? So in the scenario, we must have health and max health. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So the point of the test scenario is that we can just have it running, and it's going to do this. And even after we spawn 50 zombies or whatever, it's going to take forever for them to take out the survivor here, because he has so much health. Anyway, so we can put down turrets, right? And the turrets will aim at the zombies. We can make walls as well, right? So the idea with support towers is that you can put down a support tower and it will amplify some effect, right? So if we look at the list of things, range amplifier increases the range attack of nearby turrets by 30%. It's really impressive. Oh, thank you. It's what I've been working on. I think we started, I don't know what stream number this is or how many weeks it's been, but we must be at this for like 2-3 months now of working on this on Sundays. Zom Nom Defense. But it's been learned a lot of things about game dev and Godot through the process of making the practice games before this one. This is technically still a practice game. I do have an idea for a bigger game that I want to make. I am just putting that off because I think there's some interesting things we can do here. And this game is going to give me a chance to practice kind of like fleshing out a full game. And I think a lot of the things we are doing here are going to be helpful in the future. So yeah. So cooldown beacon reduces attack cooldown of nearby turrets by 25%. And we'll tune the numbers, right? So that's just like some numbers to start with. But the idea is that they'll have these effects and a range, right? Overcharge increases damage. Okay, so that makes sense, right? Attack range, how often they hit, and how much damage they do. And then buff system using existing buff I don't think I have a buff component. I think that's a hallucination. Buff? Yeah, there's no buff in the code base. So that's not real. We might want to make that though. You wanted to, I built the Godot tutorial game. I wanted to get more into it, but you have ADHD. Sure. I think just like identifying a small thing to do. I don't know. I don't know what would help with that situation specifically, but I feel like just taking a little bit at a time and identifying like what can I do in, I don't know, a stream that at least gets me most of the way to a success, right? And do things bite-sized is motivating. It's challenging, especially if I of course have the advantage of I've been writing code for a long time in a lot of different environments, and so I have a pretty good sense of how I can cut things up, and I can pick like achievable next targets, which is more challenging maybe if you don't have that background. But I guess that's where things like tutorials come in, and that sort of thing. I don't find it motivating, right, to like just follow along and build something someone else has built, just doing what they did. But this, I will say the flip side of that, right, is that it's important when you're trying to learn something to acknowledge that, yeah, you're not going to build something necessarily that is new or unique or one of a kind. You are going to be building things that have been built before. The point is to learn. That's a thing that I struggled with early on. Is just like, why am I going to build this? Someone's already built this thing. I'll just use the thing, or that becomes demotivating, that mindset. So I got to push against that. But yeah, anyway, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But anyway, for support towers, create support tower scenes in entities, obstacles, concrete support. I don't think we will do that. So implement using an area 3. So I'll note, right? So a lot of the issues in the project, I used AI to be like, hey, this is what I want to do. Create a bunch of issues to like progress that. So we're seeing the consequence of that, which is that some of these things are not quite accurate. But that's fine, because it would be a different story if this was a project that multiple people were working on. If I was like putting out things and being like, here's how to make here's how to do things, and that's not accurate. If it's me though, I can go back and say, oh well, no, I don't. No, that's not what I actually want. So I think with AI stuff in general, if you're generating stuff with AI, you need to own dealing with it, cleaning it up. It is really disrespectful, I think, to like, if you're working on a team, working with other people, to like AI generate something and be like, here you go, without cleaning it up or vetting it or whatnot. Because like, why don't you just send the prompt to the person then and have them generate it if you're gonna do that? Anyway, soapbox time over. Support tower stop. So this is true. So we do have an obstacle registry. We don't necessarily add things to it. It's something that works because we put a resource file in a folder and it gets scanned and put into the obstacle registry. Tech tree unlocks. That's something we'll want to make sure that works. That because there is a tech tree in the game, and the different obstacles are supposed to be unlocked by buying them in the tech tree. So this is the thing I was looking at yesterday as a thing to maybe work on stream, but I've lied to you because we're not going to do that. There's a thing that we need to do first, which is add visual range indicators for obstacles. And Death Row says, I'm going to be in and out lurking while you play stuff. Well, that's how to do it. I'm doing that all the time. So thanks for hanging out. And what are you playing? More, what were you saying the other day? Path of Exile? And I'll stop asking you questions so you can actually lurk and do other stuff. Rivals, right? Okay. And PoE 2. Yep. So obstacles like turrets and other defensive structures need visual range indicators. Well, yeah, things that do damage to the enemies need a visual range detector, or indicator rather. Right, so in the game, when we place a turret, give me free scrap. When we place a turret, right, the turret has an attack radius and a detection radius. So there's two. There's one that is like, oh, I see enemies within this range. I am going to target towards them, because turrets take time to aim, right? And then once the enemy is within inner range, they'll be able to actually shoot the zombies. Oh, I see. Hold on, let's box in the zombies here. Otherwise, this is they'll eventually knock the survivor off the top of the world. And then we'll put in some turrets. Yeah, I gotta sip that coffee. Oh yeah, but of course the zombies will break the walls now. If they're adjacent, like so. I think there's still a lot of opportunities to tune. One, why are the zombies going into the floor? Tune like how they're like if they're going to be hitting stuff on the way to the target, they should face the thing they're hitting, and there should be animations for those things. All things that we need to do. I'm just not really focused on that for the current phase of the project. Anyway, I think I'm done there. So point being is that things that hit the zombies have a range, have a couple of different ranges. And I would like to be able to, when I'm placing them, be able to preview what the range of the thing is going to be. One, I would like to have some way of maybe selecting already placed obstacles and seeing the preview. So this will be a whole new thing, right? Because right now obstacles, once you place them, there's no interaction with them currently. So having some kind of like click an obstacle to select it to see info, or maybe just hover over to see info. Maybe hover over. because I don't want to. Yeah, I think so. I think maybe hover. So anyway, so at least two things there, right? One is changing. Let's think about that. So if you were just thinking about the first one, if you were just thinking about, oh, I want to, when I'm placing defenses, obstacles, if it does damage, I want to be able to see a preview of its range. You might think, oh, well, I have code for placing obstacles. Hey, Brainless, good morning. How's it going? Placement. I have a script for obstacle placement that does a bunch of things. And you might be like, well, can I put the code to show the preview of range in obstacle placement? Brainless says, all is well, killing bugs on the mod. Right. I forgot, because you mentioned it when you were talking about on Sneaky Spudsworth stream a while ago, that it was in Lua. I had forgot until I saw you saw the screenshot in the Discord about it. How are you feeling about Lua these days? I touched some Lua fairly recently because I was doing some stuff for in GTNH in the computer Open Computers mod, which is all Lua. A number of years ago, I did a bunch of stuff for Redis with Lua, and I recall hating it, but I dislike it less. I disliked it less a few weeks ago when I was playing around with it again. Yeah, I do not like Lua. Yeah, it's different. So to get the chase though with obstacle placement, I think what's going to make sense is maybe having something where the obstacle itself owns the responsibility of providing the preview. Which is already the case, sort of, right? We have this place method, which does some things. Place and remove. Get AABB. How does obstacle placement work? So if we... Also, text is kind of small here, probably. We can go bigger and get rid of the sidebar. Actually, before we do, let me refresh my issues list. And we're going to work on this issue. There we go. Is it this method? No. Maybe. I'm trying to understand how it is that we how do we get the mesh that we put into the world, that green version of the actual thing that we're placing? I'm gonna read that message in just a second. Is it this one? 3 months ago. So we've been working on this at least for 3 months. Where does the time go? Okay, so this one is actually doing the actual placement, but something is setting preview on obstacle spawn requested is this. So we have an obstacle preview scene. Okay, so here we have a node, obstacle preview. Okay, I'll look at that in a second. Brainless says, but I'm rethinking the whole concept behind the mod. Right now, you build towns, which lets you build transport lines, and you buy vehicles, which gives you profit. Maybe I should just skip everything but the vehicle purchase, as it allow more people to join. Sure. So maybe I didn't have a good idea. Like, what is the, so this is for is it Transport Fever 2 is what TF2 stands for? I think that's it. What is the mod? So you build towns. So chat can build towns? Like, what is the... And sorry if you said that. Buy towns. Buy towns. I see. Okay. So you can, like, use point redemption or something to get a town named after you. And then... I don't know. It's good, though, to have a solid idea of, like, what is the kind of interaction. So from available towns to transport lines, you can buy them and build your own company. I see, as, like, in someone in chat can. And you can compete with chat by profit. I see. That is actually kind of interesting. Is TF2 otherwise... It's like a single player game, right? Or can you have multiple players in it? Does this effectively make it multiplayer? Yes. Yes to which one? I asked like 3 questions all at once. Kind of. Okay. It is single player. Okay. So in a way, yeah, it does. It would kind of make it into kind of a multiplayer, not like a... I don't know. Is there a term for that? An asymmetric multiplayer game? A stream game? I don't know. Sounds ambitious when put into those terms. Okay, so Obstacle Preview script provides a class for obstacle previews. It inherits from Node 3D, so it's a Node 3D. We have an init that presumably we call I guess init is called when we invoke the constructor. I'm just refreshing my memory of how all this works because it's been a while. Brainone says it used to work at some point. I have no idea where I broke it, but it's full of bugs now. Also, 5 years ago, you were a baby dev. Sure. Yeah, that's kind of... I had this thought when I saw your message in Discord as well, of like, it sounded like you started a refactor, or something like a refactor, a rework of things, and then kind of left it in between, which is, well, that's why we have version control. to see what it was like before that. But I don't suppose you had it in version control, and you can look at what it was like before the refactor. But if you were a baby dev, that is a thing I would expect a baby dev to not do. Yeah, I did something I hate now. I made OOP using a class library. Yeah, and there's no README. Why would there be? And it's in Lua, which is, yeah. Oodles of fun. Okay, so we have a thing where we save the obstacle type. We call create mesh from obstacle type. So we essentially call all of this in the constructor. Do we call it anywhere else? No. Okay, so this really could just be like this. It's the same thing, but whatever. So we create a mesh from obstacle type. This is the magic of this, right? So here's the obstacle type. It has a scene. We instantiate the scene from the obstacle type. We get its mesh instances. We create a new node 3D for some reason. So we can contain... So instead of putting it directly on ourselves, where we have to go find the nodes, we'd put it all inside of placement preview node so that we can find the mesh instances. We say for each temp mesh from the temporarily instantiated scene, we make a new mesh instance. We copy we don't copy. We take a reference of the mesh and put it into the new mesh instance, and then the transform and scale, and we add our copy, our effectively a shallow copy of the mesh instance to the placement preview node, and then we add it to ourselves. And then we get the AABB of the temp obstacle, which is what we saw here. This get AABB is grabbing all of it's merging the axis aligned bounding boxes of the meshes inside of the obstacle. And that allows us to have like a bounding box for placement in obstacle placement. And then set preview material overrides the surface material of the preview meshes, which happens in obstacle placement for some reason. Oh, right. So this is what allows obstacle placement to override, to say, oh, this is now red, this is now green, kind of showing where the if a placement is valid or not. And thank you, Brainless, for taking care of those bots. And you said you should have seen how long it took you to figure out how the messaging port was supposed to work. Had to reverse engineer the file structure of a request. Yeah, you were saying it was like creating files and directories for message passing. Yeah, I do. Yeah, that as a mod, now you get to see what I see, where Twitch is like, these are questionable messages, so I'll show them to you, but they won't show up in the main chat. Yep. And that's why they don't show up in the chat widget above, because they are likely ban evaders, restricted according to Twitch. All right, so I guess all of this reading of code is to try to help me understand how I want to solve the problem of who is going to own rendering the range of the turrets, right? So, and I don't know if I've solved that, but we have a piece of the puzzle, right? So part of what this does is this obstacle preview has to know some things about obstacles to be able to make the preview. Now the question is, do we want to continue doing this? Because we are going to have to bake more knowledge in and potentially duplicate code if we keep doing it this way. Because the obstacle is going to need to show, it's going to need to know that it needs to show, and it's going to need to show the range in multiple circumstances. But even then, the obstacle doesn't, because the obstacle doesn't have an attack range. That's not part of this class, right? Placeable obstacle. Instead, we have a shooting obstacle, template class, template entity. And this is what brings in attack and detection range. So it would be really weird to make the obstacle be the thing that has the logic for drawing that. So basically what I'm thinking is that maybe we move the logic from obstacle preview into obstacle. I need to go look. I think there is a obstacle preview. Okay, there isn't a scene file or anything. There's just Why is this called obstacle preview scene? Oh, I see. Can you? Wow. I didn't know. Apparently you can preload a Godot script. So not just like a scene file, but you can like instantiate a node, right? So this is extends node 3D. So this is instantiatable. Ooh. Got some food in the works. What you got cooking? But I question the need for this, I guess. So if we didn't do this, what we would do for preview, pork and couscous. So instead of preview being a special thing, it would actually be the obstacle. Right? So we would just instantiate the obstacle here and store it in preview. And then the methods that we are currently implementing in obstacle preview would live in obstacle. That would be like set preview material. And get bounds. And what else? So when we place the obstacle, wherever that happens, currently we delete the preview, and then we actually instantiate the obstacle and set things. So what we would do here is we would change this to instead call a method on preview, something like place, that actually places it, which we do already call a method called place. So this would essentially be, we wouldn't need to do this anymore. Oh, actually, yeah, we would. We would do this. We would remove our preview from the current scene tree and add it to the parent. Like, the preview is a child of this node. We would move it to the parent node. And then we would call place. In fact, I wonder if like maybe this stuff should all live inside a place. And then and then what we would need to do in obstacle is that, so currently the way this works is that the logic for, are we showing a preview or is it a real obstacle? That state lives inside of obstacle preview of like, here is a temporary thing that I've constructed and then I can create the real thing. So instead what we would do is we would always create the real thing, and the state of whether that real, the obstacle is a preview or actually placed in the world would live inside of obstacle. It would own keeping track of whether it's real or not. Which is interesting. I mean, for a thing that's called placeable obstacle, you would think I can keep track of whether it's placed or not. So we do that. We would, first of all, this name. I understand why I named the general concept of the things that I'm placing in the world that are defenses or turrets or whatever, obstacles. Probably came from the fact that this is a navigation obstacle. I'm going to rename the symbol though. So like nav obstacle, to make that a little clearer what's going on, because this method is probably going to expand a bit. Okay, so let's oops, Control T, please. No, Control T, no, Control N. There we go. To-dos for refactoring, obstacle placement. So broadly speaking, actually let's make this a little bit bigger, and then we'll, so the high level thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to address add visual range indicators for obstacles. And then I'm just going to break down what that work is going to entail. So refactor existing obstacle preview code, which is going to do some things, and then some other things. So what do we need to do for refactoring? So what I want to essentially do, the refactoring I want to do is to remove ObstaclePreview.gd, right? So we're just going to get rid of that completely, and we're going to move that logic into the obstacle base class, and hopefully not break anything. And then the benefit is that when we look at the class for the shooting obstacles, so like for our turrets, we can override, I know object-oriented programming, but we can override the method of the class, call the superclass, and then do more stuff to be able to show the preview of the placement. Because what we're going to want to do is we're going to have some nodes that are going to show the range preview, or we're going to do some code to render that, and we'll have a function that will show that and hide that, and we'll be able to call that from our overridden whatever code that we have here for showing the preview. So in terms of the obstacle base class, when we instantiate the obstacle, it should be in the placement mode, right? So what do we need to do? We need to add boolean to obstacle to indicate if in placement mode. So after we do this refactoring, then we're going to extend shooting obstacle to show range when in placement mode at a high level, right? That's we're gonna override a method. We're gonna do some stuff. We'll figure it out when we get there. So we're going to add a boolean to the obstacle to indicate if it's in placement mode. We're going to, what are things that we need to change in obstacle placement, right? So here's the question. How can we incrementally refactor this so that we can make the smallest set of changes we can make that are going to move us in the direction of where we want to go without breaking the game, right? I want to be able to make a small change and test it. I don't want to, we could just like make a bunch of changes and then see if it works and then fix things that are broken. but you can end up with a mess on your hands if you do that, rather than just making incremental changes. So if we look at how we're using preview here, what we probably want to do is we want to change some things. Could we change how we're using preview here in a way that treats it as if it was the actual obstacle, while still using the preview class? Maybe. Do I want to do that? Okay, so let's just review again. Everywhere we're using preview. If on the preview, I create a method and I can call it place, and I move all the logic from here, almost like most of this, into that method. I think that moves us in the right direction. What is the purpose of this? Oh, I guess obstacle type is technically could be null. I'm just gonna remove these logging lines for now. Is target position only used there in that method? Where were we? Yeah, in the scope of place obstacle. Okay, let's just simplify. So what I could do here is we can take most of this code, we can create a place method on the obstacle preview. It can call queueFree on itself. It can return the real obstacle. How does that... Is that the only place we use obstacle group? Yes. So it seems like that export should live downstream. What does clear obstacle placement do? It just clears the preview. Okay, so then this line is redundant because we do that anyway. Right, if preview is set it to null, set place obstacle type to null, and then turn off raycasting. Okay, and those things should live in here. And then the stats manager stuff can also live in here for now. I think this can live in here. So it would really just be these lines would move into obstacle preview. We would need to pass place obstacle type. Would we need to? No, because we save it here. We have obstacle type already in the object. So we know what it is. And all the references to preview would just be self. Yeah, I think this makes sense. Oh yeah, thanks for the reminder. I have a little bit of coffee left. Does this move us in the right direction now? I think so, because effectively what we're doing is, like I said, here we have the state of, are we showing the real thing or are we showing the preview? And the state transition is what's happening in these lines. We want to move that state out of here. So if we move this, I'm gonna cut, and we're gonna say preview dot place, which is a method that doesn't exist yet, and then we will go to obstacle preview and create a method called place. So gonna paste that, and now everything that references preview can go away because it's just this node. We don't need place obstacle type, we just have obstacle type. Yes. And then we want to call getParent.getParent. Right, because this node is a child of obstacle placement, and so here we were calling getParent, and then we want to call place. We need a navigation region, so we'll have this accept a navigation region, and then we want to add it to a group, obstacle group. So now nothing in this file refers to obstacle group. So we're going to take this and add this to here. I think that's fine. Okay, so no error. So what did Brainless say? What should I do? Keep working on the mod or keep working on the mice colony? What does the modding situation look like for Whiskerwood anyway? I don't know if you've looked into that at all. I think you were saying something about mods for it the other day. but I could be misremembering. So did we break everything? Oh yeah, so we are calling place, but we do need to pass the navigation region. I'm going to just go ahead and reload the project because otherwise, who knows what could happen. Gave up on that idea. UE doesn't work well. UE doesn't work well on your system. That's too bad. That's right. That's right. You were talking about Unreal Engine, getting that going. That's right. I remember. Okay, so does obstacle placement still work? So if we go to our test scenario, and we want to place some turrets, and we can't overlap things. Okay, so this seems to work just fine, and then we're out of scrap, so give me some free scrap. All right, that seems fine. I'm not sure about the health bars, how they are currently. How they currently are, but it's fine. All right, so that is good. That was the first step of the refactor. Didn't I check out a branch? I could have sworn I clicked that. Must have missed it. Anyway, okay, so step 1. Refactor obstacle placement logic to streamline navigation. Hey, it's sort of true. Basically what we did, ignoring the rename there, what we did was we moved a lot of the logic for placement down a level, so that now we just call place on our preview. So we go back to our list of things. Get rid of the sidebar again. So what we did right then was we move some of the placement logic into obstacle placement.gd? No, into ObstaclePreview.gd as a place method. Okay, and in fact, we'll make this a checklist. Okay, so how right now, what are the remaining ways this script, like what I want to identify is what is the minimal interface that this file needs to the preview, and then go from there. Right, so we look at the position stuff, and that's fine because preview is eventually going to be just the obstacle. It's still going to be a node, it's still going to be in the world, so anything that's using like position and stuff will be fine. When we cancel obstacle placement, we just want to queue free it. That's fine. Those are all just like node methods. We want to be able to set preview material, which we already have, right? That's setting, hey, essentially one of the things we want to make sure is that to do log warning if not in placement mode, right? And so this method will get moved to the obstacle, as will this, as will other things. But yeah, let's continue. Is there any other places where we're referencing preview? Okay, preview get bounds. So get bounds will need to migrate. Here. Right here is where we create the preview, and we say place obstacle type, right? So I think the question is going to be, how do we, what's the refactor that moves us in the direction we want to go? I'm just gonna leave it to do there while I let that simmer in the back of my mind. I think, okay, so we made a loop. It's just really this now of how do we instantiate the preview. So in our list, add boolean to obstacle to indicate if it's in placement mode. Then we need to, I think what we can do is we're gonna copy in, oh, it's break time. So I'm gonna take a break here for 3 minutes while Twitch runs ads, and I will return and we'll continue coding. So